for June 3rd, 2025. Adam, would you like to make an announcement?
I certainly would. So we have 4 members of the board. You see 3 here. We have 1 online as well, so that's 4, which means a tie vote 2-2 is a denial. You need 3. You would need 3 if it was a full board, but there wouldn't be the risk of a tie. So if it's something where you're concerned about that, you certainly are free to request a continuance until we would have a 5-person board. And if you don't care about that, you're more than welcome to proceed. Most people proceed, but it's really up to the applicant and what your project is.
All right. First up on the agenda is Appeal Z2518 Cogswell. Please come forward and you'll be sworn in. Make sure your microphones are on and make sure you speak into the microphones, please.
Christiana Cogswell. Christiana, last name Cogswell, Cogswell. Mike.
You want to make sure there's a green light on, sir?
Is that microphone on?
I'm sorry. Michael Cogswell.
You both solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, before you begin, let's have the exhibits read into record. Adam, please.
We have the application as A1, the site plans is A2, proof of publication is B1, proof of posting is B2, and B3 is notice to the neighbors. We just got this packet, which we can collectively mark as A3. All yours.
Good evening, Chairperson and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Chris Cogswell, and this is my husband, Michael. We recently purchased our first home, the property at 391 Tall Meadow Lane, and we're sort of getting used to being homeowners, and we're realizing all the things that we don't know about being homeowners. When we bought the house, we noticed that it doesn't have a lot of storage, specifically for outdoor supplies and for yard equipment. So we decided to buy a shed from the get-go. We consulted with a landscaping company, and we also researched the site and the size and site regulations for accessory buildings. And we decided on the placement of the shed in what we thought was our side yard. When we applied for the permit, however, we realized that we don't have a side yard because we are a corner lot. We have a secondary front yard. And the placement of the shed cannot go there. You will see this on page 3 in the packet that I handed out in red. That is the proposed shed location. The code-compliant location is in orange, also on page 3. And you will see that it's right behind our house, right next to our patio, our fence, our neighbor's patio. So the space is a little cramped, a bit more cramped than this picture would suggest. I did not draw it to scale, I'm sorry. But because of the topography of our lot, we have a downward slope in the backyard for drainage, and we also have clay soil, which is around our parts. We have a bit of a flooding issue in the backyard after major storms. So we still have a pond, I would call it, in the backyard right now after the storms that we've had last week. So having the shed placed in this cramped spot in between our patio and our neighbor's patio and the fence, as I said, actually increases the water drainage issues because the foundation will be gravel and would require additional expenses because of the incline that area has. So, Nicole?
And so this location is also where we were planning to place a garden before we moved in. So instead of worsening the drainage issues, a garden would make them better. But more importantly, we've spoken to our neighbors about, many of our neighbors, some of whom are here today, about the issue, and we think it's better for both us and them. So one of the reasons, in addition to the drainage, is the visibility. So in the code compliant location, the shed is highly visible to both our row and the parallel row of townhouses in the back. And in the proposed location, it's blocked by our house for many of those neighbors. Furthermore, if you look at slide 4, you'll see that the view from Bluestone Drive, which is the secondary front yard side of the lot, has the shed behind both a tree and a fence. So it's not something that's prominent from the front of the house. I think that about covers it.
So just to conclude, because of the topography and because of the type of soil that we have in our yards, the code compliant location is not appropriate for a shed. However, our landscapers did assure us that because the site that we chose is actually does not have an incline. It's at the beginning of the incline. The foundation will not sag, and we wouldn't have the same issues, even though it's the same kind of soil. Thank you.
Thank you. Board, questions?
Good evening. So, full disclosure, I live a couple streets over. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. I'm outside of the range that required notification of me. I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. The clay is an issue. We have drainage issues as well. This time of year with all the rain, the yard can be like a swamp. It can be like a sponge. And then when the end of June hits and we hit the drought, it'll be like concrete, And then when it rains after that, it runs off really fast. So you're in for a lot of fun.
Good. Yes, thank you.
So I understand the need for the shed. I have one. I have a 2-car garage and a basement and still needed a shed. And I had to get a variance for mine just because I had it closer to the fence. So one thing I wanted to ask, I don't see where the property line is identified on anything. Is that out by the sidewalk?
It is.
Yes.
It's on the, if you look at the.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're far enough away from the
Yeah,
property
so-
line that that's not an issue.
So Christian, if you look at the big screen, where my.
Yes.
It's right around here.
Yes. Oh, I have a whole bunch of them.
So in the appendix, I have a measurement from the sidewalk to the edge of the fence.
Yeah.
If that is 17 feet, so it'll be more than 17
Yep.
feet away from the
And
sidewalk.
Okay.
And it needs to just be 5 feet, so
That's
that's more than plenty.
That's fine. I just didn't see it when I looked at our paperwork today to refresh myself coming here. So in your original application, you do make the case for that back quarter of the property being, a bad location with the moisture and everything. And you also mention that there was a precedence for zoning variances with 5 other homes. So those 5 homes all have something similar to you that they border on Bluestone Drive. All 5 of them do, right? A lot of them are my neighbors, and a lot of them are the street over and the street back. I know them all. There's one thing that's different about them than your location, and I want to read a piece of the zoning ordinance, under 269A, when we go down to 14A1, under residential accessory buildings and structures and fences, no accessory buildings or structures shall be permitted in front yards. Accessory buildings or structures shall only be permitted in the side or rear yards behind the median line of the residence. For the purpose of this section, median line shall be defined as the central location equidistant from the front and rear boundaries of the depth of the dwelling. So, looking at where you have it drawn, you're beyond the median line and not by much,
Okay.
right? So if you measured from the front corner of the house to the back corner of the house, is that right, Dan?
Correct. So the ordinance that you're citing, that's the replacement to the old ordinance she's citing about the back fourth of the lot furthest removed from the
Okay.
streets. So, yeah.
Yeah, so from the front to the back, you find the center, and from there back is the back half, right? So I'm looking at fudging your shed over just enough to be in the back half.
And
I'm sorry.
Kristen, in the application, it does read, "To place shed in front yard were only permitted in the side and/or rear yards behind the median line of the residential dwelling." So it's actually in the application, but on,
But they do mention a precedent set by the 5 others, and looking at those 5, you can do a Google search of them all. They're all in the back. Even though they're on the side over by Bluestone Drive, they're still in the back half of the house.
so basically where we're going with this is, it sounds like if we were to get behind this, we're going to want the shed to come back a little bit to behind the median line, like it says in the application. Does that
I
make
know that
sense?
you already have your pad site
No,
dug out.
I just wanted to clarify, so the median line is the halfway point between the end of the properties, correct?
The house.
The house.
The structure itself.
The house?
Yes, from the front to the back.
No, that makes more sense.
You measured it from the front to the back, and wherever the center is, from there back is where the shed can be.
Okay,
okay.
okay. I measured it from the property line to the property line, and that's what I used as the.
Yeah, it's the residential structure itself. And that includes the attached garage in the front too, right, Dan?
Not if it's attached. This is for.
It's an attached garage. Those townhomes
no,
have
so-
garages in the front.
The ordinance you're referring to is for detached accessory structures. An attached garage is just part of the dwelling.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah,
at.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
He's saying for calculation purposes, it's from the front corner of the garage to the back corner of the house is where he'd establish the median. Is that correct, Dan? Makes sense, but,
Yes.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Do we have any
Yes,
idea?
I just misunderstood the.
Yeah,
the code.
we had talked to, I think, Jim about that before, and I think we just misunderstood it when we talked to him
Okay.
about it. But I think it makes sense now.
I mean, it looks like you have plenty of room, by the way.
Yes, we do.
And it'll probably still be under that nice big tree you have over there.
Yes, they're right.
Keep the tree, please.
Oh, yes, we are. We are planning to, as long as they don't die by themselves.
Additional questions?
It looks like there's a lot of property there, but Dan, just to confirm, this is nowhere near the impervious limit for the property, correct?
Correct, yeah. So the max impervious for this property is 48%. It's zoned,
Oh.
it's zoned R3, so.
All right.
Yep.
Any additional questions? Is the,
I was just going to say, we're here this evening because we were originally opposed to this application because of the location of the shed, but with the movement of it back, it does meet the requirements of the ordinance, so I don't even know if a variance is even required.
it's still in one of the
Still-
front yards. Yeah, their
Still,
side yard is considered a front yard.
It's a
That-
side,
yeah.
yeah. Well, they're
It's
both
technically,
front yards.
technically a secondary front yard still.
Secondary front
Yeah.
yard, yes.
So Maureen, you were here to oppose tonight?
I was, but I am.
You were about to get a loss tonight. I'm just
Correct.
telling you. I could feel
but
it.
I'm no
That's why you're
longer
backing
opposing.
out, isn't it? Because you just could
Exactly. I
sense
don't
it.
want to go down, right. I don't want to be, no, we are no longer opposing, is that correct? Correct. Yes, with the movement of the shed back to be behind the median line of the
Of the house.
depth of the house. It's the depth of the house, yes. Microphones.
I can do it. I'm sorry.
We're going to be doing this all year, folks. So can you please describe, or can you confirm that it is not a shipping container, that it's an actual shed?
I hope so, because it costs a lot of money.
yes.
I can confirm. We bought it from an Amish shed builder. They built it out of wood.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Judy, are you okay? You have any questions?
I'm just laughing because I had the same thought, and we use an Amish builder. They do a great job.
All right, is there any public comment in the room? Would anyone like to come up, public comment? And the light is not on, so I don't see any public comment online. Before I call for a vote, any additional discussion? All right, would someone like to make a motion?
So how do I word this? Are we denying the request? No,
We're
right?
going to approve it, but
The condition,
subject
the
to-
Got it.
condition is,
Subject to moving
Okay.
behind the median line, right?
Yeah, subject to being behind the median line.
So-
building median line.
I make the motion for Appeal Z 25-18 that we approve the placement of the shed to be behind the median line on the front side yard of the house.
Secondary front yard.
Secondary front yard.
Yep.
Bingo.
I'll second.
Discussion? Adam, are you okay with the wording of that, or do you need Christian to repeat it?
yeah. Dan, I didn't know if you wanted, like, subject to,
Subject to engineer approval of the median building line?
I would just say the
that's-
code, I would just say the code enforcement officer.
Yeah, that's fine, because you'll,
And I mean, it's
to
a
get the permit, you'll do
Prefab
all
shed,
that
I don't
anyway.
think an engineer. but
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, enjoy your shed.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just to confirm, what are next steps? Because again, we're learning.
So you already have you already filed a permit, so just re-upload a new site plan showing the new location.
I see.
We'll approve the permit, and then Michael Kirk, the gentleman who dealt the zoning violation, will do an inspection, and then you're all good.
Okay, so we have to move
Yep.
we have to move it and get it delivered, and then we get approved?
Yep, correct. Yep, yeah, so, but just upload a new site plan showing the new location. Yeah, and then you install the shed, you get an inspection, and then you're good to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is Appeal Z 25-22, 103 Warwick Road. Please come forward and be sworn in.
State and spell your full name, please.
Christian KALB, CHRISTIAN, KALB as in boy.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about the case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Adam, will you pass these down and then read in the exhibits, please?
All right, we have the application as A1, one-sheet site plans as A2, 13 site photos as A3, the landscape plan, which is one sheet, as A4. This new exhibit, which is the deer fence, we will mark as A5. And then we have proof of publication, B1, proof of posting, B2, and B3, notice to the neighbors.
Thank you, Adam. All right, Mr. KALB, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity to review the plan that we'd like to implement. And I'd also like to specifically acknowledge Dan. He's been very helpful throughout this whole process and made it very easy so far.
You know Dan doesn't get a vote, right?
I do, but he gets a paycheck. So what we'd like to do is implement a deer fence on our property. And I just distributed a picture just to give you a general idea of what it looks like. But it's basically, our goal is to have a fence that's 8 feet high. It would be constructed using 5 to 6 inch diameter posts and then have a wire mesh fencing to it. And the fence itself would have about 6 inch square. So it's not one of these tight little plastic fences that you see in some places. It's much broader than that. And we'd also, the intent is to you have black, the picture you have is galvanized it shows up a lot more with the galvanized, so our plan is to go with black. It makes it blend in much more. And the reason we're here for the variances is for several reasons. The first one, and Dan's got a picture, that's our house right there. And where we are.
Please bring the mic with you when you do it in the future, so those
This
of us
one?
that are remote.
Oh, perfect. All right, that makes it easier. So this is our property right here, and you can see, so we're in the Westover neighborhood. Here's the canal, and one of the challenges we have is all of the property along the canal for quite a while, quite a distance in this area, is undeveloped. So the amount of deer that we have coming through literally on a daily basis is significant compared to what I would consider a normal neighborhood location. So we generally have 5 or 6 almost every day. We've had 12. For the last 2 years, we've had fawns that were born on the property, and literally we almost step on them sometimes coming out. So this is a major thoroughfare for deer along here and also on this side of the house. So that's one of the main reasons that we wanted to have this variance. Second, because of the number of deer, we haven't been able to implement the landscaping that we'd like to implement. So I have it in the application, and what we'd like to implement is something called permaculture design. And if you're not familiar with it, the goal of this design is to attract and support native wildlife, so primarily insects and birds, help control and prevent erosion problems, grow fresh fruits, berries, and herbs, and enhance the overall look of the property. So you can imagine, it's hard to tell from an overhead picture, but from the beginning of our property line down to the canal is about a 60-foot difference. So we do have a slope, and we do have areas of erosion where things are running into the canal. So that the design would help with that. And again, with this permaculture design, we'd look to plant primarily native plants. So we're not looking at any type of invasives, anything like that. Third is really the shape, the orientation, and the location of the house. So I'll start with the location. This line here is what's on the drawing is shown as Warwick Road. Maybe, Dan, if you could go to that site map, please. So this entire length from the canal up to Westover Road is called Warwick Road, but it's not a public road. It's a private right-of-way that has a septic easement. All right, so it's never been township property. It's not a township road. As much as we love the property, I have the pleasure every year of taking all of our leaves from 1.5 acres down here, carting them all the way up to Westover Road so the township can pick them up. So that's one aspect of this. Second is, because it's a flagpole lot, so Warwick Road really is our driveway, right? There's no through traffic, nobody drives by. So as far as this fence goes, from a visual perspective, really the people that will see it are ourselves, our neighbors. Sometimes delivery people come all the way down to the house, and people walking along the canal path on the other side would be able to see some of it probably. But really, it's really invisible to the community. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce my wife, Andrea. I thought if she wasn't sworn in, I wouldn't hear anything, but. Thank you, honey. All right, since you brought it up, I don't want to get in trouble when I get home. So this portion of the road is paved, and then our driveway curls in here. Part of this lower portion of the road is gravel. It is a sewer line. The town does have to, this aqua has to have access to it, et cetera. So it is a gravel road for about halfway down to the canal. The other hardship is our house itself. As you can see here, our house is shaped like a Y. So it doesn't have a standard front yard, side yard, backyard. In addition, there's 3 neighbors that the letter went out to. We have one neighbor here on the other side of quote-unquote Warwick Road, even though this is not really a road, right? Anka and Michael, they're here this evening. We have another house here, Anderson. The house is up here. And then the third neighbor property is Sanford. Their house is actually here. And this is all woods and undeveloped. So Anka and Michael can speak to it if they'd like, but I've spoken to both themselves and Andy Anderson. Nobody's had any problems with putting the fence in as we have it designed. And really, the big thing is, what's a front yard, what's a side yard, what's a backyard? And because, you know, Andy has access to Warwick Road, that's how he gets to his house, so we're kind of on his side. Anka and Michael's house is here. It's got an interesting orientation because they originally thought it was going to be part of our neighborhood, but it's not. So technically, the way their house was built, their front faces us, but it's not really the front of their house by the definition that the township uses. The other point is around the fencing requirements, right? It says 3 feet in the front, 7 feet sides and back. And the reason we're requesting 8 feet is because based on the research we did, even though deer have generally poor eyesight, they really don't see higher than 7 feet. And it's more of a challenge for jumping something when they're running. And that's actually a big issue with our house. Because we have so much open area back here, the deer literally, they're not just walking through the neighborhood. Sometimes they're running through the yard if something's chasing them. So we feel that having the 8-foot fence would really prevent them from jumping over and getting into that area. And lastly, if you look here where I have these numbers, we are on a well, and our well is here, and the water line runs to the house. We also have a fuel tank here that runs into the basement in this part of the house. So the other reason to put the fence the way it is to keep those lines totally inside the fence. You know, if there was anything that needed to be done in the future, we wanted to avoid either ripping up the fence or ripping up the lines, having any problems with that as well. And as you saw in that picture, I'll just reiterate, you know, we are looking at using those wooden posts. They are going to be about they're shown very close in that picture. They are going to be about 18 feet apart. So they're really going to blend in with the wooden posts and the black iron gates. The other thing is, because of the way these lines, because of our current proposal for the fenced-in area, the main areas where the deer traverse our property, here and here, are still open, so we're really not going to impact any of their daily activity, except they're not going to be able to eat our plants. And again, no sight lines impacted, no impact with anybody in the neighborhood, really. Almost nobody's going to even know we have the fence. So, you know, for all these reasons, we feel that it's actually going to give an enhancement not only to ourselves, but potentially to the community as well, right? We're going to prevent erosion, maybe get some more birds and different types of insects in the area. And overall, we don't think there's any downside to having the 8-foot fence with this property. So I'll pause there for any questions.
Okay, board.
I'll just say I am quite aware and do have some information on deer fence. And I know they don't walk, they run. And I also know that my daughter, they go right over her fence. And I've seen deer fence. A lot of places in Princeton have wooded areas with deer fence. You really don't see the fence till you're literally up on it. I mean, even driving, the only time you see it is the light happens to hit a certain spot. So I know that they're pretty, and I also know your street. Believe it or not, I was like halfway down it or something. I'm not sure, but I remember calling someone, I think Jim, up and saying, we have unpaved roads. So I understand your need for it. They will eat anything in sight. You're by the canal, there's water, so they're naturally going to be there anyway. So I don't have any problem with it. I can't speak for the rest of the board.
Thanks, Judy.
I know that the Guzikowski farm along Big Oak Road has instituted one of these fences after their deed restriction process was completed, and has done a really good job of keeping the deer under control around there. They used to run right through their property, tear up the farm, run across the road. There was always dead deer on the road. They found ways around it. They stay now more towards 5 Mile Woods. I know that they work.
And I think the fence you're talking about is the one I'm familiar with. I think it's galvanized.
Yes.
And one of the things we did, my wife and I, we did drive around and we looked at all kinds of fences, and it's much more difficult to see. The black definitely.
Yeah.
And with the trees we have, the posts, the wooden posts, you really won't see it. I'm not going to say it's invisible, because obviously it's not, but
Theirs is along a busy road, and I mean, when it first was installed, you took notice of it, but that's it. It's there. you know, and there's a purpose to it. I've never heard anybody in my neighborhood complain about it.
I haven't heard anyone. I drive up through there pretty often, and it really blends into what's there. When you have that much wooded area, it kind of looks like it belongs there. It's not like you're putting everything, a big white 7-foot or 8-foot metal, cement, like enclosure. You really don't see this, and it kind of fits in. I think it fits in pretty well with the area.
Yeah, and I do have some pictures that were in the application, but you can see a little bit on this one, even though it's winter. We do have some trees and bushes along here, and the fence would be kind of in the middle of those. So I'm not going to say that Anka and Michael will not see it, but it's going to be covered, especially in the summer, it'll be, within the trees.
Do you know, and if you don't, I don't know if Dan does, how far off the property line this fence is going to be in the respective yards? I don't know if you want to, Dan, if you want to put that the plan up.
There's a shed. The corner of this shed is 15 feet from the property line. So it's going to be about 10 feet from the property line in that corner. And here, this is about 50 feet. So it's 50 feet from here, probably about 30 feet from here. Warwick Road is 40 feet, so this is over 40 feet here.
Pete, you have any questions?
They've all been addressed. Just a quick question, Dan. There's no easement or access requirements for the township or the state that aren't adequately covered by keeping Warwick Road easement open, right? Everything's covered by that.
Yeah, correct. We looked at a previous permit, me and Christian earlier, and there's nothing that would, there's no, right-of-way or easement that would prevent this.
Okay.
Right. And we're also specifically staying off Warwick Road, so we're not within any of that area.
Does the township have any issues with this application?
They did. They were not fully informed of all the details of the application when they asked us to attend and oppose. My question is, I know the application says proposed fence in an easement or public right-of-way. Is it just with reference to the corner in the easement or public right-of-way?
That wording is specific to the code. I didn't have.
Yeah, so
I couldn't-
that was just, are you looking at the appeal, like from OpenGov?
I am.
So that's just like, I think there's only like 10 things you can choose from, so that was just the one that was most applicable. But that wasn't in, that's not one of the requested variances, so it's not applicable.
That was the only area that I saw that
Yeah.
had fence, right, and that's what you recommended using.
So really, the variance is, the request for the variance is due to the height?
Yes.
And the fact that it's in the front yard?
It's,
The height all the
The
way
height,
around?
correct.
And I guess particularly the height in the front yard. And are you
correct.
suggesting that the fence be 8 feet all the way around?
Yes.
All the way around, with just a little cutout in the, what you consider your front yard? Or the front entrance
Well,
to the house?
I've been told by Dan that this is my front yard. I don't know what really is, but, so it would be 8 feet. And what was the second part of your question?
That's, you answered, that's what it is. So it's 8 feet around the perimeter of the property with just that small cutout to the entrance, to the front entrance to your house.
So this is the edge of our house here, right? And this is a covered area that goes into a mudroom. So it would go around that, around the property, and then where I have the X's are, that's where we're planning on having gates for access.
So, sorry, to your point, Maureen, sorry, the township zoning ordinance, the one that's cited in the appeal, that, it does mention an easement, but in the same ordinance, it also mentions the height of the fence. So I think that's why he chose that
Correct.
one.
So it was referencing the correct.
Correct.
The correct ordinance, but just picked out the.
Yes, yeah.
Incorrect wording.
Correct. Yeah,
in
sorry for the
in
confusion
ordinance
there.
itself. That's fine.
And Maureen, it's not on the perimeter of the property? You can see the property
not.
lines? Yeah,
Correct.
it's inside.
Right,
Okay.
well inside the perimeter of the property.
Dan, can you just show us what would be the front? You can do it with the cursor going up. What would be the front and what would be the back? Just because this, I don't.
So
isn't that
it's
right?
interesting, because it's technically not, I spoke to Mike, our code guy, and Jim Majewski, obviously. So it's not technically a corner lot, so I'm just assuming the frontage along Warwick Road would be the front, where the mouse is the rear, and then this would just be the two sides.
That would be my interpretation as well.
Yeah,
So it's
Yeah.
based on Warwick?
correct. And then,
Okay, just,
yeah, because there's no house in the rear, so it's not
And there's
technically
no
a
way
corner
to
lot.
exit Warwick unless you're going to go right into the canal.
Correct.
I mean, honestly, and you don't get traffic down there because you're it.
The only people that come down are people that are invited, delivery people, or people who are lost.
Like I said,
And we get plenty of those.
oh, I know you do, but I do remember that if I kept going, I'd be in the canal.
All right, well, why don't we invite some public comment, and then after public comment, we can revisit questions or discussion. Is there any public comment in the room? If so, please come forward. You'll be sworn in. You can sit down at this table and just make sure the green light's on and speak into the microphone, please.
State and spell your full name, please.
My name is Michael Stieglitz, first name M-I-C-H.
I'm sorry, you have to speak into the microphone.
Okay. My name is Michael Stieglitz, first name M-I-C-H-A-E-L, last name S-T-I-E-G-L-I-T-Z.
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. Chris discussed the placement and the idea of putting a fence up with us a couple of weeks ago, and we walked the property with him, and he showed us approximately where he planned to put it. Our house is probably the only one that's likely to see the fence from our house. And with the amount of trees and woods and things that are there, we don't imagine that the fence is going to be visually objectionable at all. If you go to the picture that has the overhead, not the site plan, but the actual, our house is the one with the red roof.
Excuse me for a second. Can you hear him in the back room? All right. Yeah, because you're kind of far away from your microphone. I just want to make sure. That's
All right. So our house is the one with the red roof, and we share the property line of Warwick with the KALBs, and so we're likely to be able to see the fence from several windows in our house, but we don't find it objectionable as long as it is as described with wooden posts and black rigid wire.
excellent. Thank you. Any additional public comment in the room? Is there any public comment online? Okay. Mr. KALB, did you come forward to answer questions or to make an additional point? Okay.
Do I need to add anything?
Any additional questions? Okay, at this time, go ahead, Pete.
Make a motion to approve Appeal Z25-22 as written, inclusive of the description of the fence construction.
Second.
Discussion?
just briefly for the record, I just need to note whether the township is opposing or participating.
Thank you. I do have my microphone on. As you were made aware, we were sent to oppose this application, but hearing the testimony this evening and understanding that I just want to disingenuous or a misstatement of the description of what the fence was for or the location of the fence as opposed to what was presented this evening, we no longer have an objection.
Okay.
Comment on that? I'm sorry, I don't want to, there was no disingenuous activity. That was from a drop-down menu. It was the only.
No, we're aware of that. We're aware of that.
I thought you meant.
Nothing, no. I
No,
apologize.
we'll deal with you later.
Nothing.
All right, so far we have a motion to approve and a second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And Maureen chickens out again. Maureen, are you participating in the next appeal?
But I'm two for O.
You are too, yeah. Yeah, you're on a roll this year.
Yes.
Are you getting involved with our next
We are
item
not.
on the agenda?
I will sit and observe. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Okay. Would Appeal Z 25-23 please come forward, 10 Moon Circle? You'll be sworn in.
You state and spell your full name, please.
Sure. Manuel Mathen, Manuel, last name Mathen, Mathen.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Okay, you want to read in the exhibits, please?
I certainly would love to. We have the application as A1, site plans as A2, B1, proof of publication, B2, proof of posting, and B3, notice to the neighbors.
Okay, you have the floor.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. My name is Manuel Mathen. I live at 10 Moon Circle. I am requesting a variance to add a gate to the easement located between my property, 10 Moon Circle, and my neighbor, 8 Moon Circle. The purpose of the gate is to increase the safety of the cul-de-sac that we live on, especially regarding our kids and our pets. The easement is an open lawn that directly connects the cul-de-sac and the busy road behind us, Main Street, often called, but is officially called Yardley Morrisville Road. The benefit of a cul-de-sac, as you know, is that there is only one entrance and one exit that parents really need to be mindful of, and this easement deteriorates that benefit. My family consists of my wife and 3 children, ages 7, 4, and 2, plus our dog, a golden retriever. And there have been several occasions where my young kids would run towards this area whenever there was something interesting happening on Main Street, such as like an ice cream truck or a fire truck going by. And my dog loves to sniff that lawn more than my own lawn. And there have been several instances where he's chased a rabbit down that easement. But fortunately, I've always been able to get him back, and nothing's ever tragic has happened to my family. However, my first interaction with my neighbors, literally the day I moved in, they pled with me and warned me that that easement is pretty unsafe because it provides a direct access to Main Street. My neighbor unfortunately had an incident of her dog running out of her backyard and, probably chasing a rabbit just like mine. And unfortunately, the dog was hit by a car and passed away on Main Street. So my proposal is to add a 6-foot-tall gate that is the same approved white vinyl material as my fence to stretch between my property and my neighbor's property to effectively block access to children and pets on that easement. The gate will still be accessible on both sides to any approved adult that can reach the latch, and it will also include self-closing doors. So once they pass through, it will close by itself. From what I understand, the easement is there because there are some utilities underground, such as some sewer pipes, and the gate would not hinder any potential construction that needs to happen or any access to anyone that's approved to go in there. I spoke to all of my neighbors regarding this, and my neighbor Mark is here as well. And not only have they been very supportive of this initiative, they were extremely excited that I'm pursuing this because given the safety concerns. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, before we start, if this was approved, are you aware that if that fence had to come down for maintenance, for whatever is underneath that easement, again, what is it, Dan, do you know?
So if you're looking at the property, the northeast in the back, there's a road widening easement, and then the one that runs parallel to the house, that's a sanitary sewer easement.
Who has control of that now, Aqua?
Aqua, yeah, so you would also need approval from Aqua as well.
Right,
just a heads
so you would need approval from Aqua, and then if they grant it, if they had to remove that fence, it would be at your expense to put it back up. Are you aware of that?
That's fine with, I was not aware, but that's fine with me.
Okay, so again, if we make a motion to approve, that language will be in the motion. And then, Dan, I have a question for you. So it looks like it's a 20-foot easement, and it looks like his neighbor at 8 Moon Drive has their fence kind of at the edge of their property line, right? Is that fair to say? And then our applicant, it appears to have their fence maybe 10 foot inside.
Correct. So the applicant has an approved permit to place the fence. We've spoken about it. He placed the fence outside of the easement. Now, based off of the site plan he provided, it does look like the neighbor's fence is in the easement, but I can't verify that just because the site plan's a little bit.
Yeah, how far?
That could just be my drawing.
How far apart are the fences?
15 feet?
Okay, so yeah, if there's, he's probably, and I'm not trying to start trouble for 8 Moon Drive because that's not what we do here. I'm just trying to understand what's going on, where the fence goes, and if by chance, some of that fence is actually going to be on 8 Moon Drive's property, or is it entirely on your property? Do you know the answer to that?
The gate, is that what you're
The
referring to?
gate, will any part of it be on your neighbor's property, or will 100% of it be on your?
Yeah, if the property line is directly in the middle of the easement, yeah, it'll be part of theirs as well.
Okay, so where do we stand with that, Adam?
Yeah, I do.
We have an applicant, but there's a chance this fence is on 2 different parcels. There's a chance, we don't know that, but what if it is?
Well, you can't grant approval to put something on someone else's property.
That's where I'm going with this.
Unless they're here. Could we get a written approval from the neighbor before we make a decision?
We don't even know
You could-
we don't even know that
Yeah, I know.
it's going to be on.
Yeah, it's a little unclear where the property line is. If the easement is,
Is that your neighbor who's here tonight?
no, that's from the other side.
The other neighbor?
So, I mean, I guess another question with regard to this is, are you the one, it sounds like you're doing 2 gates, which makes sense, but then that would automatically connect to that other fence anyways. I think we understand what you're trying to do, and in order for it to work, it's gonna have to connect to both fences. But
Yeah, I don't think they're doing
legally,
2
there's some
gates.
complications here.
Yeah, are you doing 2 gates? I think you're just doing 1 gate, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And how wide's the gate intended to be?
The length of it, it's going to be 15 feet.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll all be swinging from your side?
It's going to open up towards the easement. It's not really one side versus the other. It's opening up in the middle of the easement.
So it's like a bifold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be honest,
So-
when I looked at it, I questioned, why not have, one shared fence like my neighbors and I do, but now I realize with the easements,
Right,
it's an
right.
impossible situation.
They might need to have a property surveyed to dictate where that property line is.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
for the-
you
but for
we
the gate
couldn't-
to work, it has to reach the other fence.
yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
could word an approval to require, I'm not sure if you should do it as it's an easement agreement between the neighbors, but you could word it so that it would still require approval of the adjacent neighbor at 8 Moon.
Well, my primary concern is, do we need the owner of 8 Moon to also apply for a variance? That's what I'm wondering.
For the installation of the fence,
Correct.
or excuse me, of a gate.
Of a
in the-
gate. If part of it is indeed on his property. I would feel like both property owners would need to apply for the variance. Here's the worst part. I don't think anyone's going to have I'm only talking for myself. I just can't imagine anyone on this board's going to have a problem with what you're trying to do.
Okay.
We're just trying to make sure we do it technically correct.
Understood.
So, Dan, do we have any idea where that property line is? I mean, is that just in the center of those 2? Just trying to think.
I mean, I'm thinking our
So it's a
applicant.
20-foot easement, so there'd be 10 feet on each, like,
Okay.
yeah.
And what did you say? You think or Dan, how far inside the easement is our applicant?
10 feet.
So he's 10 feet from the center line or 10 feet inside the,
10 feet from the edge of his property line. So it's a 20-foot easement in total,
Yeah.
10 feet on his side, 10 feet on 8 Moon Circle, and then he placed his fence outside of the 10 feet, like, towards his property.
yeah, so what, like maybe 11 feet from
Yeah,
the property
rough-
line?
roughly. I
And
mean,
if you're telling me you need a 15-foot fence, that means your neighbor probably, he's not right on the property line. Like, so, I'm not looking to, like,
I think you
I'm not
could,
looking to pee in your Cheerios, but we need to get this right.
I think you could have it subject to the neighbors entering some sort of agreement. Because ultimately, if it's on both properties, there's going to be issues with who's responsible for it. Upkeep, maintenance, replacement, anything like that. So I think you could condition it on the neighbors formalizing an agreement on those things, so he can get his approval, finalize that, and then once that's finalized, they can get their permit and, present that to the township, get their permit and install the gate.
Well, we do have the township solicitor here. Thoughts? Well, Sue, you're one of our supervisors. How do you feel about this?
Good fences make good neighbors.
How about gates?
As an attorney, like, this is a law school nightmare, right? When you talk about easements and a property owner who's not here, even though I'm sure that they have your full support, so I would kind of err. I appreciate that everybody wants to do the right thing, but I kind of wonder if we could just get the other property owner here and do it all at once.
That would have been my question, if they would do a continuance and bring back the other property owner, your next door neighbor, you think he would be in agreement?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. Be in agreement.
It's still going to need to be formalized, though. Meaning,
Yeah.
like, his
Including-
testimony is great, and perhaps, and if the board wants that to make its decision, that's one thing, but they're still going to need a formal agreement in order to install this and about maintenance and upkeep and all that.
It's really not a big deal.
Either way, they need that written agreement.
Including the fact that Aqua has not been
Yeah.
considerate of any fences over their easement of late. I don't know if this would be a different compelling story to them, but
I mean, we already have a fence kind of running over it, right? Eight Moon Circle's fence is
except
running
that-
over it.
That was given by the township.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
I know it
I think
pre-exists.
it's a great idea. I live on a cul-de-sac too, so I understand, you think you're buying a nice, safe place, and then whoopsie, out the back they go.
Right.
But just want to try to get it right.
So kind of what's been bandied about is, are you okay with a continuance? And then, Dan, what would that look like if he is okay with a continuance, to what date?
Let me pull it up one sec.
Question, if I could get them to join the Zoom call by the end of this meeting, would that help?
You are the end of the meeting.
The only other thing we have to do is grant a continuance for the next one. So if you want, we can,
Yeah, do you want to just?
yeah, we can hold off on this for right now. You can text or call.
Okay.
And then we can vote on this one and give you a couple minutes to try to
sure.
contact.
Dan, do you have the online instructions that you can give our applicant?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to pause on Appeal Z25-23 and move on to Appeal Z25-25, 1 Sutphin Road, Yardley. They have requested,
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
requested a continuance until July 15th, 2025. Discussion?
And again, it was a letter by Bryce McGuigan, who's counsel for the applicant, and it's to make certain modifications to address potential township concerns, and potentially for if they need to have new public notice, it'll give them enough time to do that by that, and they're waiving all applicable deadlines under the MPC as well.
Okay. Before I ask for public comment, anybody on the board have any questions, concerns? Nope. All right, is there any public comment in the room regarding this appeal? If so, come forward and be sworn in.
Well, it'd be regarding the continuance of the appeal, right?
Laura?
Yeah, this
Correct,
is only regarding
correct,
the
regarding the
continuance of the
continuance,
appeal. We're
not the
We're
underlying.
not hearing anything related to the matter.
I understand that.
Perfect.
Laura, Laura, middle initial R, last name Donovan, Donovan.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
Thank you.
I want to know, how do I find out about continuances and stuff. I live near this property, and the only reason I knew anything was going on was a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper stuck in the ground about 6 or 8 inches off the ground that I happened to see when I had to stop at the stop sign. But I want to know what's going on with it. How do I do that?
So on our website, the matters that are coming up for agenda are published, but also in regard to this particular, are you talking about in general or this particular
This
one?
particular property, this one SUTPHIN Road property, as far as I knew, it could have just been a sign about a missing dog. I had to
So-
make a copy with
so
my
we-
camera to find out what it was
It's
posted.
it's advertised in the paper, it's online, and then people within
It's 200 feet.
200 feet are mailed notice. So if your property line is within 200 feet of this property's line, you would have got something in the mail. Now, if it's not, you're still welcome to come and be part of public comment. In regard to this one, we are, after public comment and some additional discussion, we are going to pick a date to continue this to. So you'll be, if you stick around, it'll only take a minute or two, and you'll have that date.
Thank you. And which newspaper would I be looking in for these things?
This one was in the, it's either the Bucks, to be honest, it depends on the deadline when we receive appeals, but it would either be in the Advance or the Bucks County Courier.
Thank you.
No problem. And also, too, if you go to our website, lmt.org, you can make an account, and then you can sign up for certain notifications. So you can, I think there's a prompt for zoning hearing board. So anytime I add an agenda or a packet, you'll be notified via email.
Thank you.
Any additional public comment? And again, it's regarding just the continuance, not the matter at hand, correct? Yeah. Please come up and be sworn in.
Yes, my name is Bob Pilotti. It's spelled Pilotti. B-O-B. Proper name, Robert. Okay.
Do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about the case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, okay. Gentlemen, I came here for this primarily to hear. I wasn't aware that there was going to be a continuance.
Yeah, we found out in the
All right.
11th hour.
So from that standpoint, it's kind of a waste of time. But I would like to comment that, yes, I did receive a letter. I'm making some assumptions that this regards the large piece of property that's behind the Church of the Resurrection. Am I correct?
At the corner of Sutphin and Makefield Road.
All right.
It's the north side of the street, not the church side of the street.
It's across
Not
the
church
street.
side, so it's right across the street, right? Okay. But why is there no information on here specific to what's going on?
There is. If you look, I can show you if you want to pull it up. I'm the one, me and
Oh,
my...
you mean because of the link that you saw?
No, are you talking about what the relief is being requested?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that they're requesting smaller lots, okay?
Right.
But for what? Okay?
To further subdivide the property.
So there's
Yeah.
obviously then there's been a sale of the property. They want to subdivide the property.
I'm not sure
No, it's
regarding
the
a
same-
sale.
I think it's the same owners,
Same owners?
Yes.
as far as I know.
All right. So, can I assume then that they're looking to do some type of residential development there?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
And online, we have, I think you put the plans.
Yep, yeah,
An application.
The plan is on there. If you click on zoning hearing board, under packet, it's a red hyperlink. There's a zoning plan. That's
Okay.
much more detail about how they're going to subdivide the property.
All right. So, well, I won't take up your time then, because, then the question was, it's single family, or are they having other town, or is it townhouse development?
No, it's single family. That area is not zoned to build townhouses. It's single family detached dwellings by right.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Stick around and you get the continuance date.
All right.
Any additional public comment? Okay. Any additional comment before we ask for a motion to continue this to July 15th? Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I move we continue Appeal Z 2525 as requested to July 15th, 2025.
Second.
Discussion? No. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Let's see where we are at with Mr. Mathen.
Hello again.
Just to remind everybody, we're back on Appeal Z 25-23.
Yeah. My wife and my neighbors are on Zoom. If we could unmute them, they will give you their approval and answer any additional questions you have.
Okay, let me see. Do you see anybody online? Okay.
They're listening in. Is there a different?
There's a
different
Zoom link. Did you give them the? There's also a phone number.
Yes, Grace.
Oh, okay, great.
There we go.
Oh,
Hi, do you see us?
Hello.
Hi, I'm Gracie Mathen. I'm Manuel's wife.
All right,
and then
slow down, Slam. We're going to, everybody who wants to participate has to first be sworn in, and then you can come forward and speak your piece. So how about we start with Gracie?
Hi, I'm Gracie Mathen. I'm Manuel's wife. I live at 10 Moon Circle.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Anybody else going to testify there?
Hi, my name is Jitty Bamberg. I'm the neighbor. I live at 8 Moon Circle.
Would you spell your name?
Jytte, and Bamberg is BAMBRICK.
Sir, are you going to testify also?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Donald Bambrick. I'm the owner of 8 Moon Circle, next door neighbor.
Do all three of you solemnly swear, do you all affirm or swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for jumping in. I think we actually have some direct questions for the Bambricks. Regarding your fence, do you know exactly where it's situated on your property line? We know it's in the easement, right? Okay, no big deal. Predates Aqua owning it. How far off the property line is it? Do you know?
I don't know exactly, but it's very close to our fence. We both have fences, and it's right in between.
And we have no issues with,
No
no
issues.
concerns at all.
Okay, so I guess where we were going with this is, matter of fact, I'm going to turn it over to our solicitor, the zoning board solicitor, Adam Flager, who's going to basically discuss what we discussed with Mr. Mathen prior to you three coming online. Adam, will you explain that, please?
Sure will. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Bambrick, for hopping on so quickly. So one of the main concern that the board has is that the gate would be on the Mathens property, but it would also go on to your property. And we wanted on the record to get your approval, first and foremost, your approval to have that gate on your property.
Yes, we approve.
We approve.
Okay, and then also, I think the board may require, and I think you would probably need it anyway, to have some sort of formal agreement, whether it's an easement or what have you, to formalize that agreement because, there might be issues, not necessarily for you, but subsequent homeowners about maintenance and upkeep and cost sharing and all that. So the board may require the Mathens as well as you to enter into some sort of agreement to the township's approval that formalizes all that because ultimately the board would be permitting the installation of a gate on someone's property other than the applicant. So we wanted your approval, and then also if you're okay entering into an agreement just to formalize all of that so that there's no issues now or in the future.
Yes, we approve.
Okay.
No issues.
Okay. All right. So I think.
And it also requires Aqua's approval.
Well, yeah.
That's for the applicant.
That's,
Yeah.
that's not subject to our approval. That's after us. Okay, before we get into this any further, I do know that there is one person in the audience for public comment. Would you like to come up, or you feel like everything's cool? All right. All right, additional questions from the board? Susan, you have any questions? Suzanne? Suzanne has no questions, neither does Susan. Sorry about that, Suzanne. Okay, would someone like to make a motion? I can do it, but there's a lot going on here. So does anyone feel like they want to make this motion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Appeal Z 25-25, subject.
23.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I jumped past. I make a motion to approve Appeal Z 25-23, based on the owners of 8 Moon Circle, the Bambricks, and the owners of 10 Moon Circle, the Mathens, agreeing to a formalized written and recorded maintenance agreement.
Second.
Discussion. Did we cover everything? Pete, did I miss something?
I think we have to add that the gates can be removed at the.
Correct. Great call. So again, we'll start again. I make a motion to approve Z 25-23, subject to a formalized written maintenance agreement between the owners of 10 Moon Circle, the Mathens, and the owners of 8 Moon Circle, the Bambricks, that will be recorded. And it will also be subject to the applicants, both the Bambricks and the Mathens, not just the applicants, agreeing that it will be their expense to put the gate back up should the easement owners, in this case Aqua, need to remove the gate.
Second.
You're saying, I think the Mathens agreed to bear that expense. So I
Well, if we're having a maintenance agreement, if there's going to be a formalized maintenance agreement, I would think that the Bambricks are getting pulled into that. Wouldn't that seem?
I think that in case of new owners, at some point, you have to have both responsible.
So, all right, just bear with us because you're going to get what you need at the end. We just want to get this technically correct. All right, so first of all, I probably don't want to name the Mathens or the Bambricks. We want to talk about the legal owners of the properties because this formal agreement's going to run with the property. So in terms of bearing the expense, if there's a written, this is why we have additional discussion, people. If there is a written maintenance agreement that's been recorded and formalized, would it be the responsibility of only the applicant? Should Aqua take the fence down, or would it be the responsibility of both owners?
The default is, when we have applications, is, usually it's installing a fence in a sewer easement or something like that, and the applicant bears that cost. And when we addressed that earlier with Mr. Mathen, he stated that they would. So I think the default can be that, and if they decide in their written agreement to a different arrangement, they're free to do that. But I think you need a default, and I don't think that we can impose that cost on
that's a good
the
point.
non-applicant.
That's an excellent point. It doesn't need to be in our motion. All right.
It can be the fence, or excuse me, the gate removed.
No, I'm talking about the fact that the owners of 10 Moon don't have to bear any of the expense. I understand. Does anyone have any questions about that?
8 Moon.
8 Moon,
Yeah, it can be the gate removal expense or reinstallation.
Yeah, just generalize it. All right.
Is the Mathen's expense unless otherwise agreed to between the parties.
Perfect. All right, I make a motion to approve Appeal Z-25-23, subject to a recorded formal maintenance agreement between the owners of 10 Moon Circle and 8 Moon Circle, and also acknowledging that the owners of 10 Moon Circle agree that should the easement owners, in this case Aqua, need to remove the gate, it would be their responsibility at their expense to reinstall the gate.
Second.
Discussion. Did we get it right that time?
Sounds good to me.
I should have let, Pete, I should have let you have it, Pete. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So do you understand what you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be as simple as you now can make apply for the permit to install it, and then before it gets installed, our township engineer, our township solicitor, they're going to make sure that there's a formal agreement. That's going to come out of your pocket, by the way, whoever drafts that. So, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Okay, good luck.
And then, in the meantime, get approval from Aqua.
All right.
And
Yeah,
safety.
before you
has
start
no-
doing anything, get approval from Aqua.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. You know, I actually thought we were going to be in and out here tonight. So before we adjourn, is there anything the board feels we need to discuss? Adam, do you have anything you'd like to discuss?
No, we have, the next meeting we have is the continued meeting.
Yep.
Well, there's a couple things, but
There's two continuances. There's Umansky/136 Old Oxford Valley Road, abutting Regency. There's also the continuance for the exact solar one that we discussed recently. Just for context, they're going to move the solar panels back, so they don't need a variance anymore for the fence. It's going to be along the side of it's going to be a side yard fence that will meet code. So they're going to do a 6-foot fence, but it's not in the front yard.
So are they even coming in front of us, or?
No, they still need approval. So ironically, the way
the solar location's different. The solar still needs the variance.
Yeah, correct. So the way it was originally advertised was correct, ironically. And then the third one is just an impervious for a front porch. It's pretty easy.
Okay. I'd like to bring a matter up that we need to discuss. So we have Peter, who's going to be moving later in the near future. And I feel like in the last few months, we've had a 4-member board, I believe 3 times. I don't think our alternates are working out. So I think we need to think about getting some additional alternates. Doesn't mean we have to ask our alternates to step down, our existing ones, but I think we need additional alternates. Anybody have an opinion on that?
Additional alternates should be something we do. It should.
And I think we should bump them to the front of the line, quite frankly. Give them a chance to actually participate so they're not 3rd or 4th in line. That's my opinion.
well, we would also need,
We've had more alternates in the past than we have now. At one point, we were at 3 alternates for a while.
and also we're going to need
And
when Peter's gone, he's going to need a full-time replacement, not an
And then-
alternate, so.
Same with
there's
Judy.
that,
Need
there's
3
that as well.
Peters. Need 3
And
Peters, 1
potentially, you
Judy's.
have another one later this year. I think you hear Judy jump on.
Sure, so, but the point is correct, we need more than just alternates, we need to
Yeah,
think
I'll
about people that can be.
I'll be happy to discuss that with Katie McVan, who organizes a lot of the stuff with the committees. So I can have her reach out and put something on the website or something.
Is that the chain of command?
Yeah, Katie McVan. She runs the show.
Okay, so, yeah, we're going to need to advertise for some permanent members and some, I'm thinking
Yeah, I mean, we'll do it.
2 permanent members and 2 additional alternates.
Yeah, we'll try to do it sooner than later too. So.
All right, and then once we get those alternates, let's reach out to James and Masood
Jim,
and see how
I'll
serious
make
they
sure
are.
I bring that up with the board, right?
That would be great. Thanks, Suzanne.
And then I do think Masood said he can make the July 1st meeting as well.
Yes,
so.
yeah, July 1st, we have, I think, a couple big ones. So, Jim, you won't be here.
Won't be here.
Celebrating the anniversary of your birth, 29 years ago. And then we have
There's 3.
July 15th as well.
Yep. So there's 3 on July 1st, and then there's 1 continuance on July 15th.
So instead of getting off for the summer. We're doing overtime, so it's okay.
Okay. All right. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, everybody.